Hello, everyone. Welcome to the VS Code release event. My name is Olivia. I'm an advocate working with the VS Code team. I'm very excited to be here with you all today. We have an amazing lineup for you all, going through the biggest items from the latest release that just dropped yesterday. So let's get into it. I'm here today with Kai Maetzel. Hey, Kai.
Hey, Olivia, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here. First
Oh my
time
gosh,
for me.
us too. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had you on one of these live streams. So I think everyone's going to be very excited to have you here. Do you want to do just a quick intro for folks who maybe don't know you?
Sure. My name is Kai Maetzel. I'm located in Seattle. I run the VS Code engineering team. Maybe one tiny little detail. One of the things that you actually see from me on a regular basis are our monthly plans that I publish on VS Code.
Yes.
Repo.
Yes, you're definitely everywhere. On that note, VS Code is an open source project, so you can always see all the great latest updates in those iteration plans. With that, I cannot believe that we are at the end of the year, just had the last VS Code release of the year, and this has been a big year for VS Code. I mean, looking back, there's been, open sourcing the AI capabilities, big leaps for agentic dev, so many updates to the terminal experience. It's been a big year. So what would you say are kind of the biggest standout moments for you, Kai?
Now, first of all, I've got to say it's like mind-blowing as a year, right? When you think about it, you mentioned a couple of things, but go backwards. We didn't even have any agentic experience at the beginning of the year, right? We didn't have NES, next edit suggest and tap, right? So yeah, a lot of things have changed, right? And when you think about this, right, we started without, now we are actually at the, we have a really good agent experience now. Just in the last release, actually, we brought in a new way of actually presenting our chats, running chats in the background, in the cloud. You don't have to have your editor open. So yeah, it's, came a long way, right? But there was also, when you think about this for agent mode in particular, right, was not just working on agent mode, was supporting all the different models that came along, right? We worked a lot on bring your own key, right? So that, for example, you can use providers like Cerebras, for example, right, that are in the marketplace. So we did a lot of work on customization, right? So you can not just have the actual Copilot instructions, but we support agent MD files, for example, right? Just now we started picking up Claude skills, right? So there was a lot of these kinds of things that actually happened, right? And also a lot of small, tiny things, right? So like, for example, right, we introduced OS notifications for long-running tasks, right? Or when you actually needed to confirm a tool call, for example, right? So those tiny little things, and it's all over the place, right? Big highlight also MCP, right? We have the most complete MCP implementation out there of any client tool, right? And we have been keeping up to date with this all along, right? Yeah, so those are the big hitting items, right?
It's always mind-blowing to me when I'm reminded that literally at the start of this year, we didn't even have agent mode, or really so much of kind of what's in VS Code today. How does the team adjust to such a changing landscape? I know you mentioned the iteration plans that happen monthly, but how do y'all really approach, staying up to date with all, the cutting edge of where we're at in development?
That's a very good question. So how do you stay up to date? You have your ear pretty much on, what happens in the world out there, right? You do competitive analysis. You do a lot of self-hosting, of course, right? Because if you actually don't use it yourself, you don't have a good impression about what is needed and what is not needed, right? Like, for example, the feedback that our own team gave in order to improve, for example, our NES experience, right, was absolutely fundamental, right? So in order to get the timing right, in order to get the UI right, at what moment do you think it's actually useful compared to what moment is it a little bit distracting, right? Remove the distractions. And that's very, very small increments of feedback that you need on a continuous basis, right? We also collaborate with others quite closely, right? When you think about how we collaborate, for example, with the AI labs for the new models when they come out, right? There's also some knowledge transfer happening there. So, but it's a lot of research, continuous research, working very closely with data science folks, right? And seeing what happens around you.
You touched on I would say one of our top questions we get is, does the VS Code team use VS Code to build VS Code? And yes, I mean, the team is an insiders nonstop.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, you look at this, right? There's a reason we have the insiders release, right? There's a reason sometimes the insider release all of a sudden stops rolling out because we realize, oh, wait a moment, there's something not quite working the way it should. We push in new insiders, right? An hour later, you have a new build. So yeah, right, all of us are on insiders. There are also the pre-release extensions, right? So that is pretty much the insider version of individual extensions, right? And we combine clearly the pre-release extensions with the insiders itself, right? And yeah, you push something and a few hours later, you actually self-host on it. Mm-hmm. That has been true pretty much forever, right? And that's the beauty of developer tools, right? I mean, if you do software for some other business, you cannot really do this, but we can, right? So that's
I'm
very
always in awe
gratifying,
of watching how the team really interacts, and takes all the community feedback and is just constantly in the tools, and everyone's so motivated to make it the best because they use it. It's a tool that they use too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a great kind of look back at some of those big ships. We just shipped the last release of the year yesterday. And I can't believe how much made it into that release. The team has so many great features that were jam-packed in this release. Would you want to go over just some of the highlights that stand out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at Universe, that already seems, years ago, but this was only a month ago. We actually introduced Agent HQ, right? So that's actually where you can pretty much see all of your running agents, those that run in the background in the cloud, those that you have in VS Code directly in the foreground, right? And that was a good stepping stone, right? But it was not perfect. So we put a lot of effort for this release and how to make that experience actually more smooth, right? And that's what you see, right? And I think Brigit is the one that will actually show this today in the live stream, right? So there was a lot of finesse and a lot of tiny iterations actually went through this in order to make that. So we're not done yet, right? So don't get this the wrong way. But I think that is a big stepping stone, right? Then also we had work trees for quite a while, but it was not the most intuitive kind of way of work with work trees. Now, when you actually start a background agent, you have the choice right in the dropdown to say that you actually want to use work trees, right? That gives you isolation for your background agent so that they don't step on your feet in the foreground. I already had set Claude skills, right? That was also interesting because Claude skills really are growing very quickly. You see a lot of people putting a lot of effort into those, right? So that's one of the customizations clearly that we wanted to take up, right? But also, I mean, NES, I mentioned that before, right? We rolled out new production model for NES, right? That really makes the experience much nicer. But now we started for the first time to actually integrate NES with language server support. So like, for example, you make a change to a symbol, and that there's very moment when you make a change to a symbol, we figure out that this is potentially a rename. And then you have an ability to hand it over to the language server to actually perform the real rename refactoring, right? And that makes it, first of all, more precise, but secondly, actually less steps to perform the same, right? And that's clearly some path we want to go forward, right? And then the last thing that I want to call out is we put a lot of improvement in actually the visual representation of how chat actually looks, right? And what we do with thinking tokens and so on. And for some technical limitations, we had thinking tokens not yet on Sonnet models, right? Or on Anthropic models. And that actually now changed with this release. So now across pretty much all of the major models that we support, you have really nice thinking token support, right? We kind of collapse, for example, and compact the presentation of this, and that makes it more digestible, right? And I think, yeah, those I would say are the those are I mean, it's a long release notes, right? So I always just can point at highlights, right? But yeah, those are
Right.
the
It's hard to pick just a few
that's
that
right.
stand out
Yeah.
because I definitely recommend everyone go and read the release notes because there's so much in this release. As Kai mentioned, some of these we'll be covering in this stream in just a few moments to hear straight from the VS Code team of folks who worked on the features themselves. So you'll see a lot of those in action. So yeah, that was a lot just in this final release. I know you mentioned that there are refinements always in process, especially right if folks are using VS Code Insider, so you can get those daily builds. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to what themes you see emerging then that are helping shape what development's going to be looking like next year from the team, and anything you can share there.
No, next year, if you talk about January, that's more predictable, right? Again, think about what we just talked about. We
Right.
know what this year looked like, right? And I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, right? So, but a couple of things we already see, right? So we push, for example, custom agents, right? And custom agents is your way of pretty much telling the agentic loop how to behave for your concrete use cases, right? And as good as generic agents are, custom agents that you can actually control, test, and so on in order to make sure that they run properly, I think that will really take off, right? And what we actually try to make sure is that custom agents run locally. You can actually use VS Code as your development environment for custom agents, but then they also can be picked up by background agents or in the cloud, right? And I think that will really continue, right? And we really just have touched I think the first couple of interesting problems around custom agents. And then related is, right, we have a planning agent, or we call it planning mode, right? And right now you get the plan, you as an individual, right? But think about if the complexity of those problems really increases, right? Maybe I need your opinion, Olivia, on if the plan makes sense, right? And then it's the agent, you and I, right? And that actually creates this kind of collaborative nature for planning. And that's clearly something that we'll also go after. Right, and also one other aspect, right? At Universe, we had our integration or our collaboration with OpenAI, right, for the Codex integration into Agent HQ. Right, I think that kind of type of collaboration will continue also with others, right? So it's an opening up, right? It's pushing for collaborative planning. It's more custom agents, right? And you mentioned that before, right? We went open source this year. Big step for us, right? As a traditional open source project, or traditionally being an open source project, right? It was always kind of awkward for us that everything we did with AI was closed source, right? So clearly people can come and do this with us together, right? So that's exciting. Right?
I think one of the things that really stands out to me looking at this year is just VS Code really trying to, in the age of AI, stay true to its core principles, right? Open sourcing the AI capabilities so we can get closer to our community. We're talking about BYO functionality with extensions, be able to contribute models, like just really leaning into that extensibility mindset. I think that that's a really great thing to see. And to your point about, having the community help shape and give feedback so we can just make the experience even better is a great thing to, I think, end on here. But is there anything else that you want to cover before we turn it over to some of the rest of the team to showcase some of those great features you talked about?
I mean, maybe just saying thank you to everyone, right, who uses VS Code, who gives feedback, right, who sends PRs, particularly those who send PRs. Thank you very, very much. We try to call you out in release notes every single time, but, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, and clearly also thanks to my team. They're awesome.
They are. I'm biased, but it's a really great team to be part of. Cool. All right. Well, Kai, thank you so much for being here. Definitely look forward to having you on in the new year, and we can maybe do a side-by-side clip of this, of where looking forward in the new year and see where we're at in even 6 months' time.
Yeah,
and see
I
where
love
we're
that.
at.
That's a great idea. We should do
Right.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Kai, for being here.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. All right, y'all, that's going to bring us into kind of the next portion of the VS Code release stream, where we bring on members from the VS Code team and special guests to talk about some of the great features from the latest release. This is meant to be interactive, so please make sure that you're dropping any questions in the chat. With that, let's dive right into it, and we're going to bring Brigit on to talk a little bit more about the Agentic experience. Hey, Brigit.
Hey, Olivia, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Thanks so much for coming on. I love any time that you are on this stream. It's always a good time.
Oh, thank you. I love being here. So super excited to be in the final stream.
I know. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it every time I hear that. Okay, so obviously I know who you are, but some of our viewers might not. So if you could do just a quick intro to yourself, and then I think we can dive into what you're showing.
Sounds great. So I'm Brigit. I'm a product manager on the VS Code team here at Microsoft. I've been on the team for over 5 years now, I think. And some of my current focuses include the next edit suggestions experience and all of our agentic experiences, moving between background, cloud, local, all those kinds of cool flows.
Yeah, tons of amazing work that we've seen from you and the team this year. So what, I know Kai kind of alluded to it, but what is the latest in the release that just dropped yesterday that people need to get their hands on?
Yes. So we've made a ton of changes to how users can interact with, kick off, hand off between different kinds of agents. And when you open up the chat panel, you're actually going to pretty much immediately see the change there. And so I think we could probably just get into the demo and take a look at it. That sounds good. Okay, so I have gone ahead and opened up the chat panel here, which you can always do via this toggle chat button. And right at the top here, we're going to see we have this recent sessions list. Now, this is going to be recent different kinds of agentic sessions that I've kicked off, whether they're local, which is just regular agent mode as I'm in here, or it could be background sessions, or it could be cloud sessions. I could go ahead and explore these different sessions. And something that's also cool is we now have this button here that allows you to expand into this agent sidebar as well. So depending on how you kind of like to manage your work, review your work, chat with Copilot, we're kind of building in these different kinds of flows to make it feel as powerful and as extensible as possible to you. Now with this as well, we have where maybe if you have a bunch of different sessions, you can do things like you could archive them. So for instance, if I have a few sessions and maybe I was kind of working on similar tasks in them, I don't really need to worry about some of those. I could go ahead and say archive and move that over to an archive section. And at any point too, I could go ahead and filter my different kinds of sessions. I could search them to find them. And I can again move between different kinds of views. And also go ahead and create different kinds of chat conversations as well. So here I'm just in kind of regular local agent mode. I could also go ahead and switch over to specifically a background agent conversation or a cloud agent conversation as well. And that's kind of like a quick overview. I'll pause there.
Very cool. Yeah, I think that first of all, these updates are amazing, right? Because I know if you're using all your different agents as much as I do, right? You have so many different sessions. And so being able to just filter through them is so helpful. I was wondering if you could touch, and maybe you're gonna do this in your demo, a little bit more on just kind of the difference between that local background cloud interaction and how that works.
Absolutely. So we could go ahead and kick off, and I will zoom in just, well, maybe we'll stay right about here.
It's a tough balance. Too zoomed and you then can't see your screen.
Yeah, like never mind. we'll stay here. We can resize if we need to. So we kind of go through a typical flow that maybe I would do. So maybe you and Kai were just discussing as well, like planning mode. We have that. So maybe I want to do some planning for my current repo. So for instance, this is actually a real website that our team develops and publishes. It's all about dev containers, which is another feature of VS Code that I love and that I work on. And maybe I want to find ways to make this site even more user-friendly. So I could work with either local agent mode or the planning mode and local conversations and say, what are some ways that I could make my site more user-friendly? And I'll go ahead and send this off to kind of just work on a plan for me. And something that's also cool that we added this iteration is that I can let local conversations, whether it's local agent mode or planning mode, continue working in the background. So I can go back and we see here that this session continues in progress. I could choose to check in on it if I like, but I don't have to keep it in the foreground focused on it. I could go kick off some other work if I'd like. So I want to kind of let that plan work on things. And then in the meantime, I maybe have some other work that I'd like to go ahead and kick off. And maybe I'd even like to go ahead and kick off some things additionally in the background. So for instance, something that, as I'm in the kind of the mindset of ways to make this website more readable or more contributable by new folks coming into it, maybe I'd like to go ahead and add some more testing instructions to the README. Maybe that's something that's top of mind for me. So I could say add testing instructions to my README. And I could go ahead and kick that off to, again, work in just a local agent mode session. I'll kick that off. I can let that work in the background some more, and I'll see that continues working and thinking there. Now, as I kicked off that on agent mode, that's going to go ahead and create changes just to my local files here in my workspace here. So they're not going to kind of be isolated from if I kicked off another agent mode session. It is possible that maybe those changes could conflict. So if I really want to go ahead and kick off some background work, it's helpful to actually use a background session. So that way it will work on a Git work tree if I'd like. So I'll go ahead, and we have a few different ways actually. So what I could do here is I have this continue chat in button. So if you're typing here, you're just working in agent or ask mode, and then you realize, hey, I'd like to send something off to the background to the cloud, you can actually use this button to then continue your conversation there. Or if you kind of decide from the beginning that you'd like to go ahead and work with a background agent, you can also plus and create a new background agent directly from here, which is where we're then going to see that drop down where I can choose to work on a work tree, which is going to be an isolated Git work tree that's not going to then impact my other local files directly. Or if I didn't want to use that, I could also choose to go back to the workspace option.
And is it pretty much, as long as you're in a GitHub repo or a Git repo, you have that access to work tree and the work trees will just magically work? Okay.
Exactly. Yep. And under the scenes as well, the background agent is powered by the Copilot CLI. So if folks are using the Copilot CLI outside of VS Code, we also now have these integrations directly within the editor. So maybe I want to say add a glossary page to my site and also link to it from the README. This is a scenario where it might end up conflicting with some of those local changes I was going to have because, hey, I was adding testing instructions to the README. Now I'm also going to add some other information to the README. It's nice to be able to kind of kick these things off in different isolated background or cloud sessions if I'd like. So here, I checked this up. We also have a model picker for the background agent sessions as well. And I'll go ahead and send this off. And now we see immediately as a response that the background agent went ahead and created an isolated work tree, and it's going to go ahead and actually make those changes on the work tree. If I check over in the SCM view, I'll see that work tree was created, and my changes are going to exist on this work tree instead of potentially conflicting on my local repo.
Very nice. How do you usually decide for your personal workflow if you're going to delegate it to a background agent or to a cloud agent?
That's a great question. And so I found that sometimes if it's what I expect to maybe be a longer running task or something that I really don't want to or feel like I need to immediately see the results of, sending it to the cloud can be nice. I also feel like if I want to automatically have a pull request generated and maybe go ahead and collaborate with Copilot on that PR, collaborate with other teammates on that PR, it's really nice because the cloud agent is going to go ahead and create a new branch and PR for that session. And so if that's something that I feel like I'd get value of for this kind of task, I find that to be a really great opportunity to delegate to the cloud.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, great.
And we could take a look at an example of delegating to the cloud. I could do it from this kind of continue in button here so folks can see that flow as well. So maybe something I'd like to do is add a theme toggle to my site. I expect that to maybe a little bit more long running. Maybe I want the coding agent to take a little bit more creativity with it. So I think this is a good task to try sending off to the cloud agent. So maybe I'll say add a theme toggle to my site. I can use this and say cloud. We're also going to pick up if you have any outstanding local changes, and you can choose to decide if you want to include those in your cloud agent session or not. I don't think that they're relevant because I haven't been doing work that's quite relevant to this. But if you have been doing some work and you have some things that you want to package up and also include in the cloud agent session, this flow is great for that. So I'm just going to say delegate, and then it's going to go ahead and automatically create a branch, kick off a PR, and go ahead and work in that branch and PR. And if I then go back here, we can kind of see the different status that we've ended up at. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of our sessions here. So I can see that Copilot planning mode here came up with a plan for ways that I can make my site more user-friendly. And I have a few different next steps I could take from here. Either I could continue iterating with Copilot locally on the plan, maybe break it down, expand on it, totally pivot with it. Or if I like this plan, we now have this dropdown and you could continue with this plan and delegate it to the background or to the cloud. And so we're trying to make it as seamless as possible. If you could delegate the whole plan, you could decide just to say, hey, I just want to implement step 1, and then you could go ahead and choose to delegate that to the background or cloud. Either way, whatever works for you.
Very cool. Okay, there are a couple questions if I can pause just for a second. One question in the sidebar where you see the blue dots next to some of the chat sessions. Can you talk a little bit again about what that indicator is?
Yes, that's a great question. And so we have a few different statuses here. And so blue means that a session is completed and I haven't yet clicked into it. So if I'd like, I'll go ahead and click into it. And then we see now that the session is basically marked as red. And we also have this capability where you can choose to mark sessions as read or unread with the right click option. And so for instance, if I was working on a plan or working on a change and I think, hey, I'd like to remember to come back to that, I can go ahead and mark it as unread. I find this is helpful when I want to do things like if I generated a plan and I'm like, hey, that plan's going to take some time to kind of cook in the background. I want to be able to remember where it was in this list of sessions I have ongoing. It's nice that we can go ahead and decide, hey, I want to mark it as unread and come back to it. And you can also then choose to filter just to read or unread sessions as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for the overview. We're also getting a lot of good feedback in the comments. I just want to do a call out for that. Thank you all so much for doing that. That's one of the best parts about the team being here is that we're reading all that feedback. So we will definitely take note of all of that. Okay, Brigit, is there anything else that you want to show then?
No, I think that this is a good overview of some of the changes that have landed. We can check in on the SCM view here. We'll see we have different work trees, different changes committed here. Also, folks want to really have power over their pull requests and issues directly in the editor, since we also have integration with the Copilot coding agent in PRs. Installing the GitHub pull request extension is a great next step as well. It'll give you some even more capabilities. And then when you have those kinds of cloud sessions that get kicked off, you'll be able to click into them and see the PRs that were generated, be able to interact with the PRs, apply changes from them, check out if you have that other extension installed as well.
Awesome. Cool. And I know that this was like literally just touching the surface of all the updates. So this was a great overview, but I do just want to do a plug because we are currently streaming to the AI Dev Days event. And we actually have a whole breakout session on the unified agent experience in VS Code from Josh and Osvaldo on the team later today. So that's another great chance to see all of this in action and kind of dive a little bit deeper too. So just want to do a quick plug there.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brigit, for being here as always. And I'm sure we'll see you a ton in the new year.
Thank you so much and Happy New Year, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Brigit. With that, that's going to go ahead and bring us to our next guest and demo with Logan. Hey, Logan. How are you?
Hi, Olivia. How are you?
Thanks. Is this your first time on one of the VS Code release live streams? I can't remember.
I think so. I did a podcast at one point
right.
to learn about this feature, but I don't think I've done a live stream yet.
Yeah,
so
good call out for the VS Code. Yeah, right. For the VS Code Insiders podcast, definitely check that out. Logan has a great episode there. Well, so can you go ahead and do just a quick intro of yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Logan. I work a lot on kind of the model adoption and model integrations within Copilot Chat. So a lot of the new models that you see come in have been kind of added by me. And then I also work on the bring your own key experience, which is about bringing access to users to bring whatever model they want to use within Copilot. So that's what I'll be kind of shoving off a little bit today.
Cool. That sounds great. Yeah, I know models, Kai mentioned it in his opening, that all the model work is a huge piece of all the work that's been done this year from the VS Code team. So super excited to have you on the stream today and show this off. So with that, yeah, we can go ahead and dive into your demo.
Yeah, sure. So here I'm just in Copilot Chat. I'm actually using my Copilot free account, so it didn't cost me anything to sign up for this. You can see I open this and I have some, quota for chat messages. But maybe I want to, I already pay for some API usage, or I want to experiment with different models. We actually support bringing your own keys so that you can access different LLMs. So the way I do that is I click here into the model picker, and you can see I have, at the top here, all these models that were provided by Copilot directly, and this is included in your subscription. And then I have this other section at the bottom here where you can see other models that I've contributed via an API token. So if I click Manage Models here, we'll actually bring ourselves into this new management flow that we've been working on. And so here I just have a few providers. listed, but there's many more than this. So if I click add models, for example, I can go and add API keys for even more of these or install more providers from the marketplace. But this is just what I've set up for now. And so we have Copilot, and this is like not super bring your own key because Copilot's of course included, but this flow does allow you to also manage the models in your picker. So let's say, we have GPT-5 Mini, GPT-4o, and GPT-4.1. I might not really want to use 4.0 or 4.1 anymore, now that we have 5 Mini and now our new in-house Raptor Mini model. So it just might make sense to click the little I button here and hide those. And now I have a cleaner kind of model experience to work with, which is really nice.
This is such an underrated feature. I feel like I've been shouting this one from the rooftops, like, oh, you don't want a giant list in your model. You can configure that.
Yeah, it's not too bad with the free accounts because,
Right.
of course, with the free accounts, we have to limit the number of models we can provide. But with the pro accounts, you can get quite an exhaustive model list, and it definitely helps cut down on things. And that's why we also started providing auto as an option to just help with that mental fatigue of what model should I be using, because there's just so many options. So we want to cater to the gamut of, I would love to experiment with models that Copilot doesn't even provide, which is why Bring Your Own Key exists. Or I'd like to not think about models at all. I just want to use AI. And that's kind of where auto comes into play there. So yeah, so that's kind of the Copilot models, but then the actual Bring Your Own Key experience. So I've added keys so far for Cerebras and Open Router, and I have Olama running on my machine as well. So you can see I have all my models listed here. They show their context windows, so I can decide, maybe I don't need a model that can take 1 million tokens, or maybe I do, whether or not it supports tools or vision. So if you're working with images and things like that, you might want to specifically select a model that has that support. For Copilot Chat, because a lot of things are going agentic, we definitely recommend picking tool selected models. So for Cerebras, you'll see I've only selected GLM 4.6, and that's because their other models at the moment do not support tool calling, and it doesn't really create that really nice wow experience without being able to do tools. So another fun feature is if I click on these little blocks, so if I click vision, then it'll actually filter the list down to vision only models and allow you to kind of pick and choose. So I've already chosen a few here. I can choose maybe another one just to play around with. So we can try to add DeepSeek v3.2 there. It gets added in. And these models work exactly the same as normal Copilot Chat models. So I can just go here. I can say, I have this little project called My Site. Create me a website via vscode showing product info. And the thing I like about Cerebras that we'll see is it's just like an incredibly fast inference provider. So it makes it very easy to do these quick little demos here. So we're going to rip through these files, and this is all real time. Nothing sped up or recorded. And
that's why I love these live demos, because people can see this is
what we get. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't make me look bad.
You never know. The demo gods are a little more finicky.
So depending on how you do AI, you could review these files. I won't. I keep, and then I'm going to close my other tabs just because I don't have a lot of screen space here, and we can just open up the site here. And look, I got a broken image, but other than that, it looks like I have what appears to be a copy and paste of our old site with nice. And I can view this all within VS Code, everything like that. I could even do this add element to chat thing, which is really cool, and say my image is broken. And it will try to fix it for me. Look at that. Amazing.
Oh, real time.
It even made that SVG itself, which I thought was absolutely crazy that it got right.
Oh, man.
Now we have these. Git is some sort of plane fighter jet looking thing. But and so, yeah, so these are all, the quality and experience is exactly the same as if you used a Copilot model. We can even kind of prove this to you. So you can see in my output channel here, I'm seeing that all my requests are flighted to the ZAI. I can click these markdown files, and these markdown files actually contain, the entire prompts that we're sending. So if you are really wanting to get into the nitty gritty, which is kind of what BYOK caters to, of bringing your own model, experiment with it, seeing what works best for you, you can see that you can view these whole prompts here and see everything we send to the model, how many tokens it consumes, and everything related to that. So it's a really cool feature. It really helps with the fact that no matter how much we'd love to provide every single model on the planet, each time you add a model to Copilot, you take the pool of GPUs that are available and have to divide them, so that each model gets some sliver of capacity. And that makes it really, really hard for us to provide everything. So it's really great. So I'll read like an AI article, a new model will come out. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I want to go try, this model I've never heard of. I've never heard of a lot of these models, to be honest. Some of them come from big players, but I've never heard of this like step fund model, for example, and maybe it's really good and maybe I want to play around with it. So that's where I think that the bring your own key experience really shines, and it works completely the same as any in-house model would, and it does not consume any of your budget as well. So I still have 4%, as I showed before. So that also is a benefit if you don't want to use your Copilot subscription, you want to save it for using whatever model, and you want to just pay by API key. So that's really all I have to show, Olivia.
Cool. I think just a couple questions we usually get around this experience in general. But yeah, I think, thank you for showing this. I think it really just really hones in on the message of model choice, right? You're not just limited to the models that are built into Copilot, even though depending on your SKU, you can have a lot. But if you want to try out the latest model of some provider, you have those options to do that. And so I really love that capability. One question that we get a lot is, do you still need to be signed into GitHub Copilot though? Because while it doesn't count against your GitHub Copilot usage, how does kind of that relationship work?
Yeah, so at the moment, you do still need to be signed into GitHub Copilot because we often will do things like you can see in my logs, we use GPT-4o Mini here, and we use GPT-4o Mini for creating this nice create a website title and other background requests for fine-tuning kind of some of the requests in the background use this 4o Mini model to fine-tune your query and make it better. And then there's features in Copilot chat that don't have a model picker associated with them. So I don't have it right now, but if I had the source control, we do the auto commit generation with the Sparkle, or the F2 rename with the Sparkle. These all don't have a model picker associated with them. And the way to power these features is via 4o Mini as well. So none of those count against you in terms of cost, but they do require that you are signed in and have an active Copilot subscription.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. All right, well, this was a great overview of BYOK. We actually have a great next demo kind of showing how you can use HuggingFace with this experience. So Logan, is there anything else you want to touch on or talk about before we?
No, that's all. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, Logan. Have a great one. All right, that's going to bring us straight into our next segment with Celina from HuggingFace.
Hi, Olivia.
How are you doing?
Super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here. Yeah, I did a quick intro that you're from HuggingFace, but if you could just do an intro of yourself and then what you'll be showing today, that would be great.
Yeah. So I'm Celina. I'm a software engineer at HuggingFace for more than a year now. I'm the co-maintainer of the HuggingFace SDKs, and I also work on our serverless inference service called HuggingFace Inference Providers. That I will be talking today, and how to use it inside vscode. So a quick word on inference providers, if you can show my screen. Yeah, so quick word on this. It's basically the easiest way to get access to state-of-the-art open weight models via one single API. And the inference runs on world-class inference providers like Cerebras, Grok, Fireworks, and a bunch of others. And you get fast, reliable access to pretty much any open weight model you can think of. And because we support multiple providers, you get flexibility in terms of cost, speed, and availability without being tied to a single vendor. And it's also cost effective in the sense that we don't add any extra markup on top of provider rate. Now, the part I'm especially excited about is that you can use these open weight models directly inside VS Code Copilot Chat with the extension called HuggingFace provider for GitHub Copilot that you can find on the marketplace. I think you cannot miss it. It's the extension with the cutest logo. So yeah, by the way, huge thanks to the VS Code team for implementing the tooling that make this super easy for us to build. It's based on the bring your own key feature that Logan was presenting before. And as he was explaining, it basically allows you to contribute your language models through an API to VS Code Copilot Chat. And VS Code being open source is such a great thing for us as well. It helped build this kind of features. So yeah, another thing about the extension, we think it's very cool for us because we constantly release new features on our side. And the extension being outside of VS Code allows us to iterate faster, add new features, integrations, bug fixes, and all of that without relying on VS Code releases. So yeah, a quick demo setting this up is straightforward. You just need to install the HuggingFace provider extension. Once it's installed, go to Copilot Chat, click on the model picker, then manage models, click on add models, and then you will find the HuggingFace in the list. Click on HuggingFace, and then it will ask you for your HuggingFace API key. So this is your HuggingFace access token. And you can find this in your HuggingFace settings. Just make sure to add permissions to inference providers. So I will copy my token here. Click enter. And then you can select any available models to use inside Copilot Chat. So yeah, a couple of useful things here is that you can actually filter models by provider that supports this model. For example, if I want to show all models that are supported by Fireworks, I can just look for Fireworks, and it will give me all the models that are served through Fireworks. You can also pick either the fastest mode, which will select the fastest provider for that model, meaning the highest throughput for that model. We have also a cheapest mode, which will select the most cost-efficient provider for that model. So yeah, so let's select, for example, the latest DeepSeek model, which should be DeepSeek v3.2 with the fastest provider. And let's select GLM 4.6, another open weight model that has great performance for coding. And once you enable visibility here, you will find the models here directly to use. Yeah, so let's try a quick demo here. Let's build something real, actually. So I have this feature request I was supposed to implement today. So on the HuggingFace Hub repo, which is the HuggingFace Python SDK. So yeah, let's just ask GLM to implement this feature directly.
Love it.
So just ask GLM to implement this by giving the URL directly to the GitHub issue. Let's add a bit of context. And let's hope I don't get any demo effect here, but it should be okay.
You never know.
Yeah, actually, for this kind of features, I really like using local agents. Instead of assigning, I don't know, the issue straight to GitHub Copilot, because it feels much more interactive. And I get to steer the implementation step by step. I can refine the prompt, and I just like watch it until it completes its work. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I also estimated roughly how much it costs for this kind of session. I mean, this kind of request, and it's roughly around 20 to 30 cents if you want to have GLM implement this feature. And I'm not even using the cheapest provider, so it's quite cheap compared to other models. And with the free HuggingFace account, you get some free credits to try things out. And then with the pro account, you get even more monthly credits, free credits, and then it's pay as you go after that. Yeah, so I think it's going really well for now. It takes like 1 to 2 minutes. And as of the extension, The implementation is obviously open source, so you can just check out the code and open issues if you have any bug reports or feature requests. We're super happy to get like some feedback on that.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure to share out that repo link so people can contribute to that. But yeah, I love, like, there's a couple things I just want to highlight that you showed up. First, I love the be able to filter for cheapest and fastest, because I mean, like, at the end of the day, right, a lot of people don't necessarily know what all these models are. We want to know what's something I can try that's cheap, or what's something I can try that's just going to get my task done fastest. So I think that that's a really, really great user experience. And then to your point about just this being in its own extension, Logan touched on this a little bit too. But it just really allows y'all to be able to get the latest updates out to folks as quick as possible, rather than, to your point, waiting for maybe a monthly stable release to go out.
Actually, for the cheapest and fastest mode, we shipped that a couple of weeks ago after releasing the extension. So I just had like to release another version of the extension and then ship that into Copilot chat. So it's very, very cool.
There is a question on if these models can be handed to the cloud agent or if your local sessions.
Yeah. I think it can be used to Cloud Agent. I tried this I think a couple of days ago, so it should be working fine also with Cloud Agents, background agents. I'm more of a local agent, to be honest, but yeah, it can be used as well.
We see this kind of like the other thing I think that's really great to show with the extension too is then it kind of gets all the error handling from y'all as well too. So that way, you know, it's a model that's supported by HuggingFace, and that you can make sure that all the responses are being requested properly, and that you can see kind of that great user experience there.
I think it helps also that we have like we are OpenAI compatible, which makes it really easy to implement this for the VS Code Copilot chat. So it's really a good thing to have this thing of the bring your own key feature in VS Code and the way it's implemented as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's see. It looks like it's all passed successfully. Yeah,
I think it did the job. And then I can, using this, I can just iterate, ask for tests, or if I don't like something, I can just like do the job locally and then push a final version of it after reviewing the agent work.
Yeah, and I just think it's really cool how you still get kind of this native experience they're used to in chat, but you get to bring all these extra models in. And I know HuggingFace is like, that was like one of the top ones that people are like, oh, when can I put in HuggingFace models here? So that's a really great, I'll put out the link again real quick so people know where to look for. You can either search in the extension marketplace in VS Code for HuggingFace inference provider for Copilot chat, I think it's called, or we have the link up right now too for how to get to that extension page.
Awesome.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to share or talk about that HuggingFace will be coming in the future?
I think though that's it. We will. I think we're communicating about it like every time we have like new features, and we try to improve that and see what new features of VS Code and how to integrate that on our side.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Celina, for being here.
Thanks
we really
a lot.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
All right, that's going to bring us to our next demo with Connor, who's going to be talking some MCP updates, which I know we've already had asks for in the chat. Hey, Connor.
Hi, good to see you. Yeah, I think it's been a few months since I've been on here, but yeah,
I know.
great to be here and show off all the cool
and
things.
we get a twofer for you today, right? Because you're here and then you're on with Tyler later for AI Dev Days, right? To kind of do a deeper dive.
I'm on at 10:35 Pacific, so about I think 2 or an hour and a half from now. So if you want to learn more about MCP,
love it.
Cool. Check it out.
All right. Well, I guess with that, right? Obviously, I know you, but do you want to do a quick intro, just for what you do on the VS Code team?
Yeah. So I'm Connor. I work on debugging, testing, and then also like relevant to this. I build out many of the MCP features in VS Code alongside Tyler and Sandeep, who've been on here in the past. And it's actually a timing on the last release because the the latest MCP spec just dropped at the end of November. It had the first anniversary of MCP, and there's a bunch of new features in there that are super cool, and that we actually already support in vscode. So I'm going to show some of those to you today.
Awesome, cool. Should we go ahead and dive into the demo then?
Yeah, definitely. You can go ahead and put my screen on the screen. There we go. Yeah, so one cool thing that I just wanted to mention that we've actually talked about before, I think, on here, but if you haven't seen, we also support now the new MCP registry. So if you just type at MCP in your extensions view, you get to see all these cool MCP servers. So you have Playwright, you have Connor 7, Microsoft Learn, GitHub. You have things like DeepWiki, which is super useful, especially if you're talking to a project that is on GitHub that might be new and maybe not indexed already by a language model, and you can just hit install, and then just like that, you've installed this MCP server, and you're good to go. And then actually now also in recent versions of vscode, you don't have to start it manually or anything. It'll just be started automatically the first time you send a chat message, and then we'll discover its tools, and then go ahead and just use it.
Cool. And then when you say MCP registry, that's essentially an official curated list of MCP servers that you now see in VS Code, right?
And so the MCP registry is actually sort of just a spec. There's also the open source, the official MCP registry. Currently, VS Code is pointing at the GitHub registry, which is a more curated kind of a tested and tailored registry. But as the open source as the open source and the public registry is gaining momentum, I think that we're starting to kind of have that be an upstream to the registry that we use in VS Code. So one of the stories is that it's there. It's not directly publishable to yet. It's really good if you want to just consume these MCP servers, and then probably over the next few months, we'll get to the point where this becomes more of just a mirror of the public open source registry. So there's stuff behind the scenes that's kind of evolved very quickly over the last few months, but it's getting there. And if you're a developer who wants to use these servers, you can go there. A good chance if you have a server that DeepWiki or Playwright or any major server, it's probably already there. It's probably already available, and you just hit it, install with a button press. So
cool. Okay, thank you for that overview. Awesome. All right, what would you like to show then? Yeah, for some of the latest MCP updates then.
Yeah, so these are brand new, off the press, and so I think most servers don't really support a lot of the cool things yet. But I just set up a basically a local test server. I had Claude Vibe Code be an MCP server, and so I'm going to show that to you today. So I'm going to first add my server. I just have a localhost server, so I'm going to point it at localhost 3000 MCP, and then this is just a server that will help me design a website. So we can see now it created a MCP JSON, it created the server, and it found 6 tools. And so so this exposes a few different tools. So basically, it is a there we go. Yeah. So first, new thing in the spec is that servers and tools actually can now have custom icons, and so I just made a little rocket ship icon for the server. But if you're a developer, you can have these icons, and it makes it just much easier to identify your different servers and tools. And so first thing I want to do is probably call the start project tool. So I'll go ahead and do that. There we go. Let's think about it for a second. There we go. And so I'm going to allow this to happen. So one thing that you see is recently we improved how we deal with resources, and so MCP tools can return resources, which you can see attached now to the tool call, and you can also download those. This just returned basically a JSON blob here, but I'll do more with that in a minute. So yes, let's say we can now design, we can now configure settings and build and deploy it. So let's go ahead and start designing it. So I'll say start with the design. And so this is going to use a new feature called URL node elicitation, which is basically a fancy way to say it's a way for a server to ask for input that happens on a website, that you can then navigate to. So I'm going to go here, and this is a tool that will let me sketch out my website design, and then I'll be able to then give it back to the tool. So I'll just do like a simple, I'll have like a, like a content there, maybe like a logo here, and then like a sidebar here. I'll say this is my logo, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that works, but anyway, this is probably good enough for the tool to figure out what should happen. So I'll say done. And now we actually see that this got returned to the model, and we can see that that also is a resource. My beautiful sketch there. It was returned as resource. If I think this is super cool, I want to save it, I can go ahead and download those.
Oh, this is
and I can save those anywhere I want to. So that's cool. And I'll say, okay, so I have my basic beautiful design, and now I'll say configure my site and see what happens here. There we go. So this is using the more standard, like traditional like elicitation, where a server can ask for just like kind of textual or numbers or like picker input. So I can go ahead and respond here. I have like a few like various things, and so I'll say this is a creative site. I'll just do a single page. Sure, whatever that color is sounds great. Yes, animations, and then this is also like just one small new feature as well that came in. The latest spec is that they have a way to actually ask for like multiple things that you can like check and support. I'll say I want both the contact form and a newsletter, and then I'll hit OK. You see the output from my elicitation here, and then we have that kind of all configured and set up. Cool. So now I will say, yeah, let's just go ahead and generate content. I'm probably actually going to maybe change into a full sonnet for this, because like this is kind of a more heavier task, whereas like haiku is great for fast short things, but I'll go ahead and generate it and say generate content. You got this, because models always need some encouragement. Yeah, so that's some new features. Also, one thing that is not really visible here, but that came recently is, oh, it actually is a tool. Okay. Oh yeah, so it's actually showing one new feature as well, called sampling. And so sampling is essentially just a way for the model to say, I want to make a request like on behalf of the user, sort of. So it's a way for the MCP server to make their own requests to the LLM. And so I'll say I'll allow this in this session. And so behind the scenes, it's going to be going and making requests. I can actually see those in the Copilot debug view. And we can say that, or eventually it's going to make a request here. There we go. I think it's probably this guy. Let's see what it's saying. Okay, so the MCP server like just asked it to generate content for a landing page site. And so we'll see that it made all this content here, and so it created this landing page resource, which I think maybe my demo server is like not like super smart. It probably could have written that to an HTML document itself, but I can go ahead and download this, and I'll say that I'll call this like landing.html, and close that out. Go back here. I click on things, and we can see how this landing page site looks. It seems like it wrapped that in a code block, which is not the best thing in the world to do. But yeah, so it seems like that basically like combined all of the things that I gave it. I think maybe it didn't really follow my sketch too well, because it didn't create a sidebar. But maybe my sketch was not good enough for it to really base it off.
I thought it was great, Connor.
Thank you. Yeah, but anyway, the other thing that I want to mention, which kind of a behind the scenes thing, is tasks, and so that is a new feature in the latest like MCP spec, which basically allows servers to handle long running operations, like if server like asks user for input during a tool call, for example, that could potentially take like a few minutes for a user to actually like execute, and so that presents a problem like when you deal with like networks, and when you can deal with like things that are like proxies that could like time out the request. And so tasks are a way that a tool calls, sampling, and elicitation can basically be created as a like async task that the server or the client can pull for completion in. And so that basically solves like a lot of issues. Like, for example, if your server crashes, then you don't necessarily have to like lose your tool state or lose your state of sampling or elicitation, because that can be stored as a task that can be like reconnected to and resumed in a durable way. And so VS Code also supports that transparently. Like there's no really like UI impact for that, but you should see for servers that support tasks, you should see like better like reliability, especially like I was coding on airplanes, and so like if you're on an airplane or something, or you have like just like a bad network, then tasks like should be a way to be able to have your sessions and servers work a lot more reliably than they would otherwise. So yeah, I think that's kind of the few things I wanted to go through here.
Awesome.
I'm not sure if the audience has any questions, but
yeah, there's a few questions, comments. One comment is just that it would be really cool if our custom MCP could use tools of other MCP servers and kind of bring this together. So cool comment there of things that would be helpful.
Yes, so actually that is the only thing in the latest spec that we don't support yet. They actually did also add a notion of sampling with tool calls. There's some more kind of like things that we have to change like internally to make that work, but I expect that should come probably like in the next release, which is always on Insiders First. But that basically does have a way for sampling requests to include tools that the model can call as if it was actually in a full agent session. And so definitely like keep your eye on that. I think I have an issue for that on GitHub as well at Track, but that is something that I'll be looking at probably shortly here.
Awesome, that's great. And then one other, I guess, a couple questions around sampling. One is sampling a new request, or is it all part of the same request? And then two, can sampling also use tools?
Yeah, so sampling can use tools like with other feature that I mentioned before. So it's not supported yet, but it will be supported very soon. I think a lot of SDKs for MCP are still coming out with that support, so it might not actually be in your SDK yet, but soon TM. And the sampling actually is kind of a distinct request. So it's basically a standalone request. It's basically a standalone request that the server can make, basically tell the client to make. Though of course, if that sampling request like is a result of a tool call, which is the common case, that then the MCP server could have as a parameter like to the tool like include a summary of your conversation, or include a summary of like whatever you're wanting me to do, and then it can use that to actually generate.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Apparently Siri heard me.
Look, that's so relatable.
Yeah, but but then the server actually can use that and include that as context into the request that it makes.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this overview, Connor. Like we mentioned, you're actually doing kind of a deeper dive with Tyler later at AI Dev Days. On that note, actually, if you all are watching from the VS Code channel, stay put. We still have one more final demo. But if y'all are watching on the AI Dev Days stream, I'm actually going to kick it back to James and Katie in studio there for them to keep the fun going over there. All right. Well, Connor, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing more of your demo later today and just seeing what great things come from the team for the rest of the year.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Like I mentioned, that's going to bring us to our last and final demo today. So we have David coming on. Hey, David.
Hey there, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Doing great, really happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, I know. I love anytime we get we always say special guests because this is a great chance for VS Code team members to come on, but it's also a great chance for other folks who obviously are using all the great work that VS Code puts out to really see that in action. So with that, this is your first time on the release live stream. I'd love if you could just do a quick intro of yourself and what you do here at Microsoft.
Sure. Hi, I'm Dave Levi. I am a product manager on the Microsoft SQL Server drivers team. We handle basically all the connectivity with our first-party drivers to SQL Server. So your SQL Server on-prem, your Azure SQL database, and SQL database in Fabric, we cover that all. Plus, we also get you connected to SQL DW and all those other things. So kind of a big space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. I know literally anytime you say anything with like SQL or Python, our audience usually is like, yes, that's like very relevant to me. So definitely chat, keep the questions coming throughout this final demo because David's here to hang out. and answer your questions. But with that, what will you be showing today?
So I want to show off the SQL Python driver that we released to GA back in November. We actually GA'd at Ignite. It's our first-party Python driver. Typically, or historically, I should say, we had contributed to open source projects like PyODBC. But with the growth of the Python community, it really seemed like a good idea to have a first-party driver and make sure that we're landing all of our new features as quickly as possible in Python. So really what I want to show today is I've got a couple demos. We've got a repeatable project here. And really it shows that how easy it is to use the new Python driver, where we really emphasized on shareability, being able to collaborate with your coworkers or share a script with business users. So we made sure that our driver installs with a single line pip install. It makes it very, very easy to share with other users. It also makes it very easy to deploy it. Rather than having to create separate containers for everything, you can just put this on the server and you don't have to worry about people updating drivers or DSNs or anything like that breaking your project. And we live right within this folder. So typically people use virtual environments and things like that in Python, but we saw an emergence of a new tool called UV that handles virtual environments, packages, all the stuff that you kind of have to do a bunch of different scripts for. So I want to demo that as part of the script here, or as part of the project. So I've got this project in VS Code and my Zoom looks pretty good. So basically what we've got is I have imported normal libraries. I've got our MS SQL Python driver. I've got .environment to be able to use environment variable or environment files. And then I've got rich.console, rich.progress, and rich.table. So I'm going to put some formatted results out. And also I've got just an argument parser so I can slow things down if I want to show. So kind of what I do, and this is a quick start that's available on our website. We'll share a link later. But I like to create little stub projects that I can use later for actual work. So all these quick starts and demos that I have are actually just in case I ever need to do this in real life. I've got something ready to go that I can just customize. I've shared it with you, so now you've got something ready to go that you can just customize too. With that, let's start digging in here. So I'm using a global connection. I'm only single threaded here, but if I had multiple different paths through here, it's nice to share the connection. So I go ahead, I load the environment variables, and I go ahead and connect. Let's take a look real quick at what's in my environment variables. So it's a typical connection string. The part I want to show is we're using Active Directory default. I'm on a Mac. You're not supposed to be able to do that.
Right.
We spent a lot of time making this work. And I'll show you the secret real quick here. The trick is you need to be logged in as your Entra authentication account. And the way you do that is you use an extension like Azure Resources. You add that extension, you connect it to your Azure account, and then you have VS Code authentication. Once you have that token in VS Code, we can pick it up and we can use it. So no more having to sign in and go get your phone and enter a code every time you want to run a script. It was so painful. We're like, we have to fix this.
Right. So it basically really just like loops into the VS Code authentication at that point.
Exactly.
Okay,
and it's using Active Directory default. So if you're not in VS Code, if you're using like AZ CLI, you can do AZ login and we'll pick up that token too.
Okay. Cool.
So default authentication is not something you really want to use for production apps. Like if you're going to have lots of users connecting to an app, you've written something with Django or Fast API, you'd actually want to use a specific security model, like a specific security option to say, don't try them all. But if you're sharing a script with other users or even just working on your machine, you're not going to notice a slowdown from using Active Directory default. Because what it does is it goes through and it tries all the different authentication models or options until it gets to one that works, and then it uses that. So it makes it super, super easy for sharing scripts with other users or just working on your own. But it's going to have a performance hit if you try and use it for like your production website. Okay, so let's look here. We've got our connection that we've created, and we've got our queries. I just like to I started programming in like VB6, and we had to have all our constants pulled out. So I still like to do that. I'm sure there's other folks out there that can relate. But we get our connection, we create our cursor, we execute our query, and we return our cursor. Super easy. We get our results. And, for me, this was kind of me being, having fun. I wanted to do the fancy spinners for the progress to show like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And, kind of be like the edgy developer, I guess.
Right.
So I did that, and this is all in the quick start for you to have too. But we take and we format a table, and we do a cursor fetch all. And then for each record, we just dump it into the table. I mean, this is super, super easy. This is what I love about Python. And then we go ahead and close the cursor. And I've actually put sleeps in here so I can slow this thing down and actually see the progress updates. But then we've got our main, and we parse the arguments and we get results. So, instead of looking at the code, why don't we just run it? So let's do uv run main.py. So we see we're connecting to SQL, and boom, it's done. Now I had a couple different updates in there. Actually, I had two. So let's just do sleep time, and let's do 5 seconds. Okay, so now we're connecting to SQL. This is going to take 5 seconds. Now we're formatting results. So see, I love these little spinners. That's so cool. But now we've got our table, orders by customers. So this is like, super cool. But like, what if I want to share this with other users? So we've got all of our files that UV created for us. And I didn't show that, but you just do UV init and dot in a folder, and it's going to create all these folders or all these files for you with like your dependencies, like what version of Python, what version of your libraries, things like that. And then it's going to create the virtual environment for you to use, so everything will work the same. Well, if you want to share this with other users, the virtual environment's huge. So if you tried to zip up this folder into a zip file, it's going to make it really unwieldy to share. So what you can do, and we'll just delete it. Yeah, move it to trash. So now I can zip up this folder that's just text files. This is, maybe a meg, if that. Probably way smaller. You can attach it to an email, send it in Teams, whatever, and another user can take it. They can unzip it into their machine, open up the folder in VSCode, and all they have to do, if you're used to Python and you've done like a pip install requirements.txt-r and things like that, and trying to get everything all set up, you're going to love this. So I've got this folder. There's no virtual environment, just these config files. I do uv run main.py. So I'm not changing the command at all. It's going to create my virtual environment. It installed all the packages, and we're already running. How cool is that for being able to share things across teams?
And that's all in that starter project that you mentioned.
Yeah. These are all in our quick starts. We'll share a link to that at the end here. But it's so neat. Like, taking what's already out there, this open, free to use UV product, and then, adding a single line pip install so we don't have any dependencies. You can just drop this onto a machine, UV run, and it just works. With the authentication, being able to use Active Directory default, you don't have to mess around with anything. So even for users that aren't that savvy, you're able to say, here, just run this, and it's just going to work. It's so neat.
It is. Like, I feel like it's one of those things, like if we have people watching who like aren't deep in Python or like don't really use Python, they're like, I don't get it. But if you use Python, you get it.
Yeah, if you want to try Python, because I know there's a ton of people out there that are like, wow, Python's really popular, I should learn it. These quick starts have all the steps to get your machine set up with Visual Studio Code and Python and UV and all that. So if you just walk through the steps, then it's going to make it super easy to get your machine set up and start building things. Then all you have to do is connect it to your data, and you just change the connection string in the environment folder or environment file and change the format of the table. And now you've got something that you can show to your teammates and start iterating on.
Yeah, it's a really powerful way to just get you started with pain points that maybe would be very intimidating and make you be like, oh, I don't even want to do this now.
Yeah, it's so neat. I came through college in the 90s. I'm really dating myself here, but Python was kind of a thing that was like wasn't a thing anymore.
Mhm.
So seeing it come back and be huge, I hadn't really paid attention to it. So now getting back into this space and really, digging in, I'm like, wow, there's so much cool stuff you can do. There's tools like Streamlit out there that will let you create, interactive web pages. So if you're like a report developer and you don't want to go create a bunch of fact and dimension tables and go build out everything and create a Power BI report and do all the work just to find out that you may or may not meet what the customer wanted, you can very quickly create something in Python where you're running simple queries like this and bind it to a Streamlit page and have an interactive, like, this is what the report's going to be like build a rapid prototype. We've actually got a quick start out there on the website for that too.
Cool.
Where you can say, like, is this what you're thinking? How should I build this? Am I on track, or do you want me to do something else? So you don't have to invest all the time to go back and have to refit later. Really neat stuff.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry, I'm doing a ton of talking.
No, this is great. This is what this is for. Is for people to show off the work that they're doing.
Yeah, I really love this stuff. The team, we've got some great engineers that did such a great job with this, and they keep building stuff. Like right now, we're working on BCP to be able to stream, huge amounts of data directly into a SQL table. So there's a lot of excitement about that. We're really excited. We'll hopefully have that out there soon. No dates yet.
Yeah. But it's always nice to kind of hear like what's top of mind for the team as they're working on it.
Right. Okay, so let me show off a little bit here with Jupyter Notebooks. For the
Great.
data folks
Love
out there, Jupyter Notebooks are great because, we often have to troubleshoot an issue like once or twice a year, and being able to say, instead of having everything in a Word doc and then trying to copy and paste all the queries over to SSMS or something like that, being able to have it all in one place, to be able to walk through it. So you can say, oh, I remember this. I remember these steps. And then here's the SQL. So all I need to do is connect and run it. It's super, super powerful. It's also great if you're one of the more senior people on your team and you need to create run books for the junior folks to use to be able to, execute on daily tasks. Like if you've got a customized restore process where you need to run a data scrub after or something, you can put that all into a Jupyter notebook. And then anybody who follows along can just read what they're supposed to do and then run the cells. So from a data perspective, like a DBA perspective, this is super, super cool. So here's what we've got here. I kind of broke out my notebook. So I have my imports all in one cell. So I just know where to go find them. And we can run the cell. Imports are going to run fast. Here I'm defining my queries. So we've got our orders by customer and we've got our spend by category. So let's go ahead and run that. So we've got our queries. Okay. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to print orders by customer and display in a table. This code should look really, really familiar. This is what we did in the other demo.
Right.
I did change it up a little bit though. I want to show off the context managers. So in a lot of different languages, you have to manage your connections very, very tightly. So when you create a connection, you have to close it. When you create a connection, you have to make sure you have exception handling, try catch, all those things. Python has this concept of connection or context managers, where you can say with and an object and it handles it. So once the object goes out of scope, it's cleaned up. If you have an exception, it handles the exceptions for you. You can still add your own custom exception handling, but this makes it super, super easy just to write good, solid code, robust code with still being able to go very, very fast. So here you see we load our connection information, we connect, We then create a context manager for our cursor, and then we execute our query. If the cursor has anything, then we just go through and print it out. So let's go ahead and run this. There we go. We've got our table that we saw in the last demo. Now, I can't just do the same code over again, right?
We got to spice things up.
Yeah, we got to take it up a level. So how about a chart? Charts are cool, right?
I love visualization in Jupyter notebooks. It's so good.
It is so cool. We should show them what we're talking about.
Yeah, right. We're so excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
So,
little bit.
I didn't really spend a lot of time putting words around what's going on here, but we got titles. So display spend by category in a horizontal bar chart. Like here, you could have entire paragraphs and say like, this is what I think is going on. And, if you see this, run this. But here we create a connection manager and we go and we run a query and we bind it to a pandas data frame. We then define what I got to stop with the mouse. We define what our chart should look like. And then we go ahead and we create our bar chart. We pass our data to it. Here's our 2 columns. Done. Let's go ahead and run it. There we go. Now you're going to get this warning right now with our driver because we're not in SQL Alchemy yet. We are working very closely with that team. So actually in the release that's going out very soon, we've got 3 fixes. We're hoping it's the last 3 fixes that we need to be able to support SQL Alchemy and pass all their tests so we can get rolled out over there too. But after that little sidebar, here's our chart. So I can take this, I can copy it, I can save it off. So if you're trying to do something with other users in your company, like this is so neat because you can say like, hey, here's the analysis I came up with. Here's the chart I have. You share the notebook with them, or you could, delete the virtual environment and share the folder because I used UV for this as well. You could do that too. So super, super neat. And it makes you super productive, really easy collaboration. Like super, super easy collaboration, being able to share with other users and have them pick up right where you left off.
You mentioned, right, like, oh, this will be changed in the next release. We have a few things. What's the best way for people to kind of know when those releases hit and when to kind of expect those changes? Is there like a blog that you'll have or anything?
The best way is to go to our GitHub. So we've got, actually, we've got a landing page and let's see here. Sorry, I lost my tabs. I need to.
I'm like the worst with just having 10,000 tabs.
Okay, so we've got our main landing page. You can get to this by going to aka.ms, or I'm sorry, yeah, aka.ms/msql-python. And that will land you right on this page. What you'll get here is you'll get our get started where you've got all of our quick starts. So everything I showed plus the rapid prototyping with Streamlit is available for you to go and make it your own. We also link off to our documentation, which is our wiki on GitHub.
Okay.
We try to maintain our documentation in one place, so it makes it super easy. So everything happens on the GitHub. And then you're able to also hit the link down here and go directly to our GitHub page. And here you're able to, follow along with our releases. You can file issues. We've actually got really good community participation where folks are filing PRs. So if there's anything you want to see and you feel really strongly about, go ahead and create it and then submit a PR and, we'll get you worked in.
That's I feel like anytime that it's all on GitHub and in an open repo and we can have community contributions, I'm always very excited. We'll make sure that, like I said, that this link is in our show notes so that way anyone can find this after.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm running out of things to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there anything else you want to show? I feel like we saw a lot of really great things that just like bring a lot of pain points out of the equation.
Yeah, it's we really wanted to make things easy, make it real easy to collaborate, and we see the potential. We were as we're building things out and trying things out, testing code and doing different scenarios, we're often like laughing at how like just advanced the Python community is. Like all the different things that people have already thought of that are just so easy. You just include it. I mean, like the Streamlit example, where you're able to create an interactive web page in like 40, 50 lines of code. It's unreal. So, we love being a part of this community, and we're trying to embrace the spirit of just making things easy, making it super easy to collaborate, and really, just have that Python experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that it's just really cool to see all the different tools that are at our disposal to help make all those experiences as seamless as possible. And to your point, like if you're just kind of getting started with Python, like this is something that lowers that barrier. And yeah, Python, especially in the age of AI, right? Python it's everywhere. And so it's a great time to get started with Python. If you already, if you're deep in Python, it's a great time to just reevaluate all the tools that are at your disposal now to help make it an even more seamless dev experience.
Definitely.
All right, David, anything else you want to leave us on? Like I said, we'll make sure that any of those links are in our show notes. But yeah, I want to give you the floor again.
That's really it. Like I build a lot of these demos for myself, these quick starts for myself to be able to come back later, but it's for you too. So go to aka.ms/msql-python and try the quick starts. It'll get your machine set up. You can start building things, and then use it with your data, make it your own. And if work lets you, show off what you built. I'd really be excited to see it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, David, for coming on and showing that. We really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully we see you again in the new year to see just even more of how this experience has evolved.
I'd love that. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right, y'all. That brings us to the end of our final release live stream of the year. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to all of our guests today, to the VS Code team for just creating an editor that everyone loves and just iterating over it. And most importantly, I want to take a second to just say thank you to our community. It's very, very hard to state just how much the community means to our team. Kai mentioned it at the very beginning that community is truly the heart of the VS Code team. If you ask any of the VS Code team members, probably their number one reason for joining the team was because of the great open source community. So I just wanted to take a second to thank you all, to all of our contributors, those who create PRs, file feedback. We couldn't do without you. All of those who are here watching the VS Code live streams, we really appreciate it. With that, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can watch this on demand and a lot of other really great content. But I'll go ahead and leave y'all with a happy holidays, and we will see y'all next year. Thanks so much for being here.